Do you know how many languages are there in this whole world?
Over 2,000.
Guess.
A trillion.
No, that's not that much. Well, we have 23 major languages. One of them are English, and then Salut, French. We have Hola, Spanish. Then we have Portuguese, and there's Bengali, and we have Chinese. And one of the 22 languages is our Korean. 23 languages that is widely spoken throughout the world. But that's not it. I'm talking about the language of the whole world. We have another 6,500 plus other language. And then take English. Within English, we have a lot of dialects, meaning variations or accents. English that is speaking in here, Canada, is different than what is speaking in British, right? British English. But you go down to Australia, they speak English there too. But Australian English sounds very different than Canadian English. You go down even to America, US, they speak English, but American English is different than ours. But within that, even in Canada, depends on when you live, we sound different. Like people who live in New York have very different English sound than people who live in Texas. If you count all the variations and all the dialects, we have, 100,000 languages out there. Language help us to communicate. If we do not have language, how would we communicate?
Body language.
Right, body language. Well, there's a limit to body language. But because we have language, we can go much, much, much deeper. And you can say how you feel, what you want, your plans, your dream. You can talk about it to one another. Our language is like a highway that connects me to you and to all of us. But the catch is we all need to speak one same language. It will be really hard for us all to understand a person coming in and speaking to us in Hindi. It is hard to learn another language. Have you ever tried to learn another language than English or Korean?
No. Other things.
French?
No.
Tell me, is it easy to learn a new language? When I went to Brazil, I had to learn a new language, which is Portuguese. It took me a good 3 years to even feel comfortable. 3 years. Studying the language whole time, full time. I went to ESL class. I had a tutor teaching me. You know how many words I had to memorize? And then you gotta study your grammar. And I had to do it twice because I had to move up again to US and learn English all over again. It was super hard. You do not know how many times, and when I was studying Portuguese, like learning the words and vocabs, I was, oh gosh, I wish there was only one language. Have you ever wondered if there was just one language in this whole world?
Yes. English. Yes.
Wherever you go to India, you go to Brazil, you go to Portugal, you go to America, they all speak the same language. Wouldn't it be awesome?
Yeah.
That'd be so great. That'd be so great. But the thing is, we actually spoke in one language. There was a time way back then, we all speak one language, and that's where we're going to go back to and talk about it. Well, ever since God created Adam and Eve, there was only one language. A language that God spoke, because they spoke to God. And their kids spoke the same language, God's language. And their kids, all the way through to the time of Noah. Last week, we shared the story of Noah, right? There are a massive number of people, but people are so wicked, out of control, God just wiped them up, all out. And only Noah's family were left over. But they still speak one language. And after they were rescued, their numbers start to increase again. As the time went, they start to multiply and they to start to grow in number. But this time, it must have been different, right? People should have learned something from great flood. They should have learned that, oh, God is watching us. That if we disobey God, there's something horrible going to happen to us. People should have changed. People should have learned. What do you think?
They didn't?
Passage starts off with this. Now, the whole world had one language and a common speech. But what's so special about this? They have been speaking in one language for so long. So why do you bring this up in chapter 11? Because in 11, something huge happens. People started to come together and plan something else. And they say to one another, they begin to say, let's make bricks and harden them with fire. Then they said, come, let's build a great city for ourselves with a tower that reaches into the sky. This will make us famous and keep us from being scattered all over the world. Okay, what's wrong with this? Deep in their minds, what they were really saying was, hey, guys, you know what? You remember the flood? Remember way back then, everybody died except our ancestor Noah? Well, that might happen again. So you know what we should do? We should all come together, create this huge city for us, and build a huge tower that even if the flood comes, even if God decides to wipe us out, we'll be safe. And at the end of the whole thing, we win against God. And that's what they were saying. So they started building this whole huge tower. Huge. This whole great city, and at the center of the city, it's a huge tower. They were so proud of how great thing they can build.
Wait. Did
Yeah?
God got mad?
What do you think?
Yeah, I think
What do you
he
think?
got mad. He got disappointed
So
again.
God sees this going on. It's so high. It's massive. It's massive building. All these people coming together and building the tower together is crazy. But imagine the whole world coming together, building a great thing with one mind, with one purpose, one goal, everybody united together. And then one day, God comes down. Bible actually says, comes down to see the tower. They thought they were almost there, where they could actually finally see God face to face. But no, God came down from heavens and saw what they were doing. And he said, you guys never learn. He only did a simple thing. He didn't wipe out and he didn't bring a huge flood again or fire and burn everything. No, he just did one simple thing. You know what that is?
Language.
He just messes all the language. They started to speak in totally different, out of sudden like that. So they were like, hey, come, bring more bricks. And they were bringing more bricks. And so in one instant, they start to speak in different language. They're like, Nani? What? Gale? Confusion, chaos. All this massive number of people, hundreds of thousands of people coming together, but without language to unite them together. They're all lost. Everybody scattered. From since then, you know what they call this tower after that? Tower of Babel. Why is that? Do you know what Babel means in Hebrew? Babbling. I want to conclude with this. We might not be building a huge tower like this. We might not. Probably not. But many times we think to ourselves, hey, I can do it on my own. Right? I don't need anybody's help. I can manage. And does not ask God for help. And that's the pride. That's the pride. When you do not ask God's help, what you are really saying is, hey, I can manage without God in my life. And God opposes proud people. Same to us all. If we get proud ourselves, not just, hey, look at me, I'm great. No. I'm talking about, hey, I can do it on my own. I don't need to ask for God's help. And that's pride. And God opposes proud people. But at the other hand, God fights and helps those people who depend on Him. Tell me, do you think that you can live, you can even breathe without God's help? We take it for granted. We don't even think about it. Oh, I need to breathe. Or I need to tell my heart to beat. Okay, beat now. It just happens naturally. But all these natural things that we take for granted is God's grace. God's helping us to survive every day. So we should ask for God for everything. Eating, digesting, going to restroom, sleeping, studying. When you're mad, when you're sad, when you're upset, or when you are in trouble, ask for God's help. He will help you. He will lead you. Let me pray.